Why don't we have sex anymore? What's happened to my drive? And where's the fire gone? In this session, we'll be covering the science of desire. We'll be going through your love languages, and we'll also be giving you heaps of exercises so you can get yourselves back into sync. Libido, desire, sex drive, whatever you want to call it, this is one of the most common sexual concerns couples will bring to session. And I think there's a huge misunderstanding as to what desire actually is. There's often an assumption that when you love someone or you like them or you're really attracted to them, that sex should just be easy. It should just work. You should want to have sex at the exact same moment, rip each other's clothes off, roll around this cabin and climax at the same time. And whilst this may look good in cabin porn or in all of our favourite movies, it's actually pretty uncommon, an expectation that human beings will just want something at the exact same moment. So that's why I find it really important to look at what desire actually is. And that's why in session, I don't call it a drive, because when we talk about it as a drive, that's an assumption that if you don't have it, you won't survive. We have a drive to drink water. We have a drive to eat food. We have a drive to keep ourselves away from danger. And if you don't have sex, yeah, sure, sometimes it feels like you might die, but actually it's more accurately referred to as desire, being a motivation, a wanting, a longing for sex. And when we do that simple reframe in session, I actually find it really useful to start talking about the science behind desire. So there are two ways of experiencing desire, and I think they exist on a bit of a spectrum. On the one end, we have spontaneous desire, and that refers to an urge, a wanting, a longing for sex that seemingly comes out of nowhere. There may be very little stimulus, but all of a sudden, sex feels like a good idea. This could be a kiss, a touch, a time of day, a knowing look, and you think, yeah, sex is a good idea for me right now. This is healthy, it's fun, it's sexy, but it's just one way of experiencing desire. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we have responsive desire. And this refers to how much stimulus your body needs in order to bring sex front of mind. And that could be receiving a neck kiss for half an hour. It could be jumping in the shower and washing each other's bodies. It could be going on a really romantic date or getting away to a beautiful cabin, having no cares in the world and thinking, actually, now I can start to prioritize. I'm responding to this stimulation. And this is just as healthy, just as sexy, and just as fun as spontaneous, but it's a different way of experiencing it. So you may relate to being more spontaneous, you may relate to being more responsive, or a combination of the two. And this will make sense to a lot of couples who have the area of concern being low libido, in that they're not wanting sex anymore, or desire discrepancy, meaning that they want sex at different times to their partner. And often people who have low libido will say, oh, I'm just responsive in my desire. This whole time I thought that there was something wrong with me, but actually I'm just not getting the stimulation that I want or need to bring sex front of mind. And the same goes for desire discrepancy. I'll often hear people say, oh, maybe my partner is still attracted to me, but we're just not creating this context for desire enough to make it feel like a good idea for both of us. And this is where we go into what's going on in the brain and the body. And we like to look at this as your turn-ons and your turn-offs, your accelerators and your brakes. So let's get into that. So let's look at what's going on in the brain and the body, and we can look at two different responses. So we have your sexual inhibition system, which are essentially your brakes. This is scanning your environment for everything that is telling you sex is not a good idea right now. That might be feeling really stressed or overwhelmed, having a busy day. It might be that the house is messy, you've got a lot to do, or it could even be around relational concerns or how you're feeling in your body. But then we also have a handbrake, and that's what Emily Nagoski refers to when she's talking about sexual concerns. So that could be a fear of performance anxiety, not getting hard enough or wet enough, not being able to orgasm, or fear that your body just won't respond in the way that you want it to. On the other side of that, we have your sexual excitation system, which is essentially the opposite. And that's scanning your environment for everything that feels sexually appealing, sexually exciting. These are the things that turn you on. And this, again, is pretty different for everyone. It could be a look, a smell, a setting. It could be how you're feeling in your body, how you're feeling in your relationship. but it's essentially your brain and body telling you sex feels like a good idea right now. And what we want to do in session is map out these brakes and map out these accelerators and identify what are some of these brakes that we can either manage or completely remove, and what are some of these accelerators that we can bring in. And you will have responsibility for yourself to know this about yourself, but there will also be an element of responsibility to know what you can do for your partner and for your relationship so that you can start to create more of this context for desire. So what I'll do in session with my couples is we'll map these out. We'll look at how you can manage or remove some of those brakes and bring in more of these accelerators, because desire is all about context. So this brings me to my first activity for you. All you need to do is get a pen and a paper and draw a line down the middle and write down all of those breaks. So get really clear and explicit and descriptive of those breaks, the things that turn you off or make you think that you just don't want to have sex in that moment. And then on the other side, write down all of your accelerators, the things you want more of, the things that turn you on, that excite you, and make you think that sex will be a good idea right now. Reflect on that and then come to your partner and share this together. Remembering that it's not necessarily they're doing anything to turn you off, they're not necessarily being a bad partner, but what you're trying to do is learn how you can co-create better experiences together. And then the next activity is just slightly more fun. While you're outside in a cabin, in nature, or somewhere inspiring, I invite you to write an erotic paragraph or even an erotic novel about it, drawing on some of these themes that you have and sharing it with each other. And who knows, that might be the thing that turns you on. When I'm speaking to my clients, often the concept of love languages will come up a lot. I think a lot of us really love personality tests to learn more about who we are and what we need in relationships. Often these personality tests are looking at what it is that we like to give and receive in relationships, and getting clear on this can support us in communicating that to our partner. Time after time, I will hear couples say, I had no idea that you liked that, or I had no idea that you wanted more of that. Why didn't you ever tell me? And then the next person will respond, well, you never asked me. So often there is an assumption that our partner is a mind reader. And when we're expecting someone to know exactly what we want, it's likely we're not actually going to get what we want. So in this part, I want to take you through 5 different love languages so that you can have a go at working out what it is that you want to give and receive more of. So there are 5 love languages. Let's break them down. We have words of affirmation, so that is telling your partner how much you love and appreciate them. Quality time, spending time together free from distraction. Physical touch, so using touch to give or receive love. Acts of service, doing something that you know they'll like, and receiving gifts. So what happens when you and your partner have different love languages? Well, this is actually way more common than you might think. You're 2 individuals in a relationship and you probably have different needs. What I like to do is to break it down into what you're willing to give and what you're wanting to receive. So anytime you're willing, you're giving to your partner. You're doing something for them because you know they will experience joy. You know that they're wanting that. And anytime you're wanting something, that's when you're receiving. It's for you. It's about your pleasure. And when we can break this down into what you're willing to give and what you're wanting to receive, then we can look at, okay, this might not necessarily be my love language, but I'm willing to do that for my partner. And also allow you to relax in knowing that your partner doesn't need to want everything that you want. It's pretty normal to want different things at some points. So use these love languages as a jumping off point. Yes, you can absolutely want all of them, but get really clear on what you're wanting to receive and what you're willing to give, and have a conversation about this. There is an assumption that our partners should just get it, that sex should just work, but this is actually rarely the case. So go back through your desire styles, learn about your love languages, and start to create the context of desire together.